Okay, so welcome everybody to this conference in honor of Claudio Bartocci's 60th birthday. For those who do not know me, my name is Valeriano Lanza. I'm professor at UFI Niterói, a federal university in the state of Rio de Janeiro. And Claudio was my PhD advisor in Genova since 2011 to 2015. And this conference aims to celebrate Claudio's work and will feature a selection of speakers chosen among his former students and collaborators. The presence of researchers from very different areas reflects the transversality of Claudio's interests. But okay, so without stealing any further time from our speakers, on a personal level, I just want to say thanks to Claudio for his mentorship and guidance through the years in Genova. And I hope that by organizing this Congress, I may have found a way to give something back of what I received from him as a mathematician. So before starting, let me just thank CISA for the technical support provided by means of this Zoom environment and the Indigo platform that hosts our website. And I ask everybody to mute the microphone if they are not speaking. I recall just that. And let's start with our program then. Our first speaker is Igor Mencattini from USP, São Carlos. And I will highlight from both a professional and personal point of view the main steps of his friendship and collaboration with Claudio. So please, Igor, you can talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so thanks a lot for the invitation, and so Valeriano really wanted me to speak about somehow my interaction with Claudio, and then I will try to do my best not to somehow to do something very long. I will just try to be quick. So I think that if I don't remember wrongly, I start to somehow to interact with Claudio around mid 1990, 95 maybe, when I moved from physics to mathematics, and then I was looking for an advisor. Well, I started, of course, to attend the class in the mathematics department that was at that time in the old building, right, close to the hospital. And then somehow I was looking for an advisor. I was somehow I had some interest in geometry and mathematical physics because I was coming from physics. And then, well, Claudio was for sure one of the possibility, right? And then when I talked to him, I guess now I don't remember precisely the conversation, of course, but he proposed to me to work on some aspect of Riemannian geometry that was interesting, I think, for what he was doing at the time. I think that in that period, together with Ugo, Guido Sanguinetti, and also tangentially with Fabio Pioli, they were working on the mirror symmetry, some aspect of mirror symmetry. And then Claudio proposed to me to work on hyperkähler geometry. So he somehow proposed to me to write a thesis about this topic that at the time was kind of relatively new topic, I think. And then I think it was a very nice choice because it was not really, it was not narrow. It was a very kind of broad topic. And then it was, of course, about geometry, Riemannian geometry, but of course it was also very much related to mathematical physics, and in particular to integrable system that after that became somehow one of my main interests. And in particular, when I was about to finish the writing of this thesis, I think that Claudio wanted somehow to involve somehow external referees. That I think that was not completely, at the time, it was not completely somehow a standard procedure, right? But anyway, so he wanted to do this. And the two referees that he chose were Franco Magri from at the time was I think Saldini yet, right, in the whole department of mathematics, and the other one was Giorgio Valli that was in Pavia at the time. And then I remember that one of the first somehow thing that we did together was really to go to Milan and also to Pavia to visit these people. And for me was a very nice experience because for the first time I was somehow going out from town in some sense. You know, it was nice because I was going to meet professional, right? People that were working on something that they wanted to work, and were persons that really were somehow very. I mean, they were very important figures in their field, and. So this is one of somehow the main characteristics of I think that that I want to stress about Claudio. Claudio is a person that was, at least with me, only very much supportive. Even though it's not very clear why, but he always tried to be really supportive with me, and this was somehow the first thing that he did in some sense to somehow to try to make public, right, my work that after all was just let's say a thesis in laurea thesis, right, in the old Italian system, and then after that I think that we keep working a little bit. We start to work on some topic that was again related to hypercare and an integrable system that was what was called still special care geometry. We somehow had two publications together. It was very nice to work with Claudio. Claudio is a person that, from let's say professional point of view, is really open. He's not somebody that somehow, let's say, is when you talk to him. You have always the impression that he's listening to you. He's not somebody that want to somehow to have some it doesn't work by authority, let's say. And but anyway, so this was more or less the first leg of our interaction. Then we, of course, we discussed a lot of time about mathematics, but we didn't work anymore together. But what I wanted to say about Claudio is the following: that beside the somehow the professional part, you know, that was, of course, it is of course important, because after all, this is what I'm doing now. I'm still doing mathematics in some sense. But what was very important for me was his friendship. Claudio, I think that is when I think about Claudio, I think about a friend. He's a friend of mine. And he always somehow behave in this way, and it is something that for me was very important, because of course, you know, life is very complicated, and sometimes you need somebody to talk to. And when I talk to Claudio, I always somehow had a kind of very sharp and honest feedback, and this is something that is not common in general. And beside that, I want to say something more about some interaction. Of course, Claudio was my advisor, so he somehow taught me mathematics. He told me a lot of things about mathematics, but he also somehow told me a lot of things about other somehow things that for me were very important. In particular, we discussed about the books. Claudio is, of course, loves books, and we share this somehow this passion together. And then every time somehow I had some sort of interest, I knew that I could go and talk to him, and I could get a feedback again. So for all this thing, I cannot somehow do anything else that just thanks Claudio for all these years, for this friendship, for his mentoring when I was a student of him, and also now that recently we start to discuss a little bit about some project that he has, and then we discuss about this project, and again I think that I learned again something from him, and for all this somehow thing, I had to thanks Claudio again. So I don't want to keep you busy for a long time. So I think that I don't want to say anything more about that. Thanks a lot, Claudio, and well, happy birthday, even if it is somehow late now. But I hope that you will keep somehow doing what you did until now. So I hope that you will keep doing and being what you are. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Igor. So maybe you forgot to say that you were a rugby player at the time we met for the first time, right?
I was, yes.
And maybe I became your advisor because everybody else was scared by you.
Well, in principle, what I didn't want to say is the following: that in principle, I had an advisor because I was in contact with another professor in the mathematics department, and that well, I don't want to. Probably it's better not to mention, not to say who was this person, but it was not Ugo; it was another person. And because when I was in the physics department, I attend this lecture, and I find this lecture very, very nice. And so I went to talk to him, and then I said, yes, so I would like to work with you. And then he said yes. But then when I moved to the mathematics department, then I met Claudio. And another thing that I didn't say is the following: that probably one of the reasons why I wanted to work with Claudio is because one of the first time I saw him, he was in front of the coffee machine. It was in the entrance of this whole department, and he was talking about a book, talking about books. And this book was a book by this writer. It's called Thomas Bernard. He had this book in his hand. He was talking about this book, and he was, this talking was very passionate. And then what I did, of course, since I was somehow, I like books, I went to the bookstore, and then I bought this book. And then I started to read this thing. And then, it became one of my obsessions. This Thomas Bernard became something that I try to read everything. Unfortunately, I don't read German, but I try to read everything he wrote.
Which book?
But anyway, so
Wittgenstein, Nephi, or I don't remember.
It was Antichi Maestri. It was one of these
old masters.
Old masters, right? And but anyway, so what I wanted to say is that I had an advisor, and then when I decided to move from this advisor to Claudio, I had to talk to this person, and this was one of the most embarrassing things I did in my life. And I did many embarrassing things in my life, but this was really one of the worst one. Anyway, so I don't think it was about to be a rugby player, but it was more about
Bernard.
Yes, Bernard.
Bernard. Exactly. Yeah, Bernard's book.
Okay, so thanks a lot.
No, so thank you. Very nice.
Thank you, Igor.
I'm touched.
On your contribution.